Hello, true crimers. This is the case of high school teacher Colleen Ritzer. Colleen was a 24-year-old math teacher at Danvers High School. She specifically taught geometry and algebra. And Danvers High School is located in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, Miss Ritzer was a very popular teacher there. She was beloved by students. She would actually stay after school to help coach students, talk to students, whatever she needed to do. But she was known to always be on the student's side. On October 22nd, 2013, she asked one of her new students, 14-year-old Philip Chisholm, to stay after school. She just wanted to have kind of like an introductory talk with him, and he was super shy. He had recently moved to Boston from the Tennessee area. Allegedly, when Mrs. Ritzer started bringing up Tennessee, Philip, for some reason, got really upset about it. So the other student who was in the room at the time alleges that she stopped the conversation on Tennessee and tried to change subjects. Just before 3 p.m. on that October afternoon, Mrs. Ritzer got up to use the restroom, and this is the CCTV footage of her doing that. As a matter of fact, let me just show you the footage. Nothing about this is graphic, don't worry. Okay, so there she is walking towards the women's room, and here in just a moment, there is Philip, seeing where she went. So I guess right here he recognizes that there is a camera. He attempts to disguise himself by putting a hood on. That's not going to work. Now he goes towards the women's room. You can see him here putting on gloves. Now sometime later, you see him walking out with a garbage bin and a mask on. He then puts on a red jacket and heads towards the exit. So trigger warning, I'm about to describe something graphic, so just a heads up. Okay. He would startle Colleen and then took out a box cutter and slashed her throat 16 times. Now, they believe she was still alive when he then sexually assaulted her. He brought a change of clothes with him to school that day, so he planned this. So this is the garbage bin in evidence. He wheeled her out to the woods and dumped her. Again, they allege she's still alive. Again, another trigger warning. He then takes a tree branch and he inserts it into her and poses her in a sexually humiliating position, and then she dies. He then dumped a note on her body that said, "I hate you all." Philip stole her credit card, then went to go get fast food and watched a movie. He was found by police sometime after midnight that night, when they found the bloody evidence in his backpack. In 2014, while awaiting trial, he attacked another woman in the youth facility prison he was in. In 2016, he was convicted and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Should have gotten life.
This picture you see behind me is a photo of a wealthy Igbo man named Azubike from Hiyala, Anambra State, burying his father in a brand new car. This happened back in 2018, and according to the story, Azubike had promised to buy his father a car. Sadly, his father died before he could fulfill that promise. And so, instead of putting him in a regular casket, he buried him in a brand new BMW SUV. Strangely, this is not the first time an Igbo man is burying their loved one in a vehicle, as an Enugu man has done so back in 2015, where he buried his mother in a brand new SUV Jeep worth $90,000.
Okay, you guys, so 17-year-old Itzel, she was a beautiful teenager from Arizona. So Itzel had over 60,000 followers on Instagram, and she inspired to be an influencer. This was her dream, and her family is saying that she was doing really good to be 17 years old. I mean, she had 60,000 followers. That's amazing. In early July, on a Thursday night, Itzel decided to go out with friends. She told her parents that she would be back later on and she was just going to hang out. But when Friday rolled around and there was no word from Itzel, she hadn't called home. Her parents were trying to call her. She didn't answer. Her dad decided the best decision was to go ahead and report Itzel missing because this was not her type of behavior. Now, after reporting Itzel missing on that Friday, the father ended up getting one of the most horrific calls that he would ever get on Saturday.
Last spoke with Isel Espinosa on Thursday. The next day, he reported her missing after she didn't come home and he hadn't heard from her. On Saturday morning, he got the call that his baby girl had been found dead in this alley.
She's not here no more, and I can't really express my feelings toward her. And
Phoenix police say Itzel was found dead in the passenger seat of a vehicle near 35th Avenue and
So Itzel's body was tragically found dead in a car. Now she had multiple gunshot wounds and she was sitting on the passenger side. Her family was completely heartbroken, and they wanted to get to the bottom of this because they could not understand why somebody would do Isel like this. So weeks go by with no answers. This happened on July 2nd, July 3rd, around this time. But just yesterday, police announced that they have started making arrests in connection with the murder of Isel. Jesus, which is the guy pictured down here, he's supposed to be like a brother to Isel. They're supposed to be like really good friends, but police arrest him. Isel's father is shocked. He can't believe that this guy is actually arrested for the murder of his daughter because his daughter was just posting him on social media a few days prior. They arrest another person, which is a minor, so they cannot disclose any of this minor's information. But they then announce that they are looking for Lindsay Aguilar. Now, allegedly, Lindsay is the one who pulled the gun that ended Isel's life, and Lindsay is currently on the run.
Eduardo saddened that someone she was close to would want to cause her harm. A second suspect, who is a minor, booked into a detention center. And the one who allegedly pulled the trigger, Lindsay Aguilar, is still on the run.
Even though they don't have her in custody yet, but they will. I mean, eventually, because you cannot go and hide forever.
Itzel's father saying he will never fully find peace.
So I'm almost certain that after arresting Jesus and the other minor, that's when they began talking and telling what happened. Isel was found dead in the passenger seat of her own car. But what's being said is her and Lindsay ended up getting into this argument. Isel then ran around to the passenger side in order to try to seek, I guess, shelter in order to get away from Lindsay. So she runs to the passenger side and she locks the door. That's when Lindsay asks Jesus, which is supposed to be Isel's friend, to pass her a gun. And that's when she fatally shoots Isel while she's sitting in the passenger side of this car. They leave Isel's body there, and that's when days later police discover her body. Now, a lot of people think that maybe Lindsay has already fled and went across the border to Mexico. But as of right now, police need your help in trying to locate Lindsay because she is an active fugitive. What they did to Isel it's unforgivable, and they took this young girl's life without even giving her a chance. Just the fact that she called Jesus her brother and he turned around and passed the gun to Lindsay in order to kill her. I think that they were jealous of Isel, and the fact that they were literally in an alley, that shows that this might have been premeditated. Now, if you have any information in the whereabouts of Lindsay Aguilar, please contact authorities, or if you know anything, please contact authorities because she is on the run. Justice for Isel.
These are the recent updates into the investigation of the murder of 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, who was killed by one of her former classmates, Aiden Bucci, this past May near Jacksonville, Florida. If you guys haven't already, you can go back and watch 2 of my previous videos that detailed the night of Tristan's death. But as for recent updates, we now know that following the murder, investigators discovered bloody shoes, bloody clothing, and a notebook full of violent drawings in Aiden's bedroom. Specifically, one of these drawings showed a nude female with what appeared to be blood coming from several wounds. While toxicology found no indication of sexual assault, handprints were found on Tristan's thighs that didn't belong to her. Aiden's girlfriend has since come forward, admitting that he confided in her about his plans to kill someone, along with voices in his head telling him to do exactly that. Aiden's mother has since been charged with destroying evidence after being caught washing the jeans that her son was wearing on the night of Tristan's death. Both the wet jeans and sink tested positive for blood. Pre-trial hearing is scheduled for later next week, and I will have more updates as they become available.
Imagine murdering your 2 daughters just to make your husband suffer. On June 24th, 2016, at 5 p.m. in Fulshire, Texas, Christy Sheets called a family meeting at their home. She had gotten into an argument with her eldest daughter, Taylor, who was 22 and was supposed to get married that following Monday. She wanted to ground her so she couldn't go see her fiance. The father, Jason, did not agree with Christy's decisions and had also asked for a divorce that same day. During the family meeting, Christy came into the living room with a gun and started shooting. Taylor, Madison, and Jason made a run for it. Jason made it all the way to the cul-de-sac, but sadly Madison collapsed. Christy went back into her home, reloaded her gun, and came back out to try to shoot Taylor again. At this point, the cops had arrived and Christy wouldn't let go of her gun, so she was shot dead in the spot. Taylor was flown to a hospital, but sadly ended up passing as well. Jason was untouched, and this was due to the fact that Christy said this was about making him suffer. She knew that taking his 2 precious daughters away would ruin his life forever. It's stated that Christy went downhill after her grandfather passed away in 2012. She had tried to off herself in a total of 3 times and went to several mental health facilities over the last 4 years. This case truly breaks my heart, and I hope that Madison, who was 17 years old, and Taylor, who was 22 years old, rest in peace. I'm not a mother yet, but I could never imagine murdering any of my kids just in spite of my husband. This is beyond what my mind can fathom. Stay safe, you guys.